It's a bomb. Out low for her. Level check. All systems check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's on. Well, there's a red light. And that's what.
And
Good morning and welcome everyone to the annual council meeting. I now invite my chaplain to open the meeting with a prayer. This also allows time for personal reflection before we start the business of the meeting.
Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. And the deep peace of the Son of Peace to you, now and always. Amen.
Please be seated. When speaking, please ensure your microphone is turned on. If members wish to leave the meeting before it's finished, please follow Standing Order A25.7 and give your apologies before you leave via the Head of Governance Support. Please note that we are live streaming this meeting via the Council's YouTube channel to encourage more people to engage in our public meetings. The proceedings of the Council meeting will also be recorded. Please can attendees refrain from watching the live stream as this will cause interference for our viewers. We are not expecting any fire alarm testings today. In the event of an evacuation, you will hear a recorded message requesting you to evacuate the building. Please leave by the nearest exit. The Riviera Centre staff will assist you. Once outside, please assemble in front of the tennis courts to the seaward side of the building. Please also ensure that all mobile phones and iPads are turned to silent. Apologies for absence.
Madam Mayor, we have apologies received from Councillors Carter, Councillor Cowell and Councillor Madison. Other than that, all members are present, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I move to item 3, election of the Worshipful, the Mayor of Torbay. Can Councillor Tolchard please put her motion to the Council?
Thank you. It gives me the greatest pleasure to propose Councillor Barbara Lewis as the Worshipful, the Mayor of Torbay for the 25-26 municipal year. As always, Barbara said, I don't want a fuss, so no fuss, but I feel we must acknowledge what she has done and achieved over the last 10 years. I first got to know Barbara Cunningham as she was then, when she was the new lady in Councillor Chris Lewis's life, and I suspect it probably was Chris's influence that persuaded her to stand as candidate for Roundham with Hyde in 2015. And I recall Barbara saying at that time, I'm not really very political, but she is a people person, and that surely is the best attribute that any councillor can have. After all, what are we here for but to serve the people of Torbay, as well as ensuring that the place itself is the best it can be for all of us to work and live, and for our visitors too. So Barbara was duly elected in 2015, and for the past 10 years, she's done an exemplary job, I think, in representing, first of all, the representatives of the residents of Roundham with Hyde, and latterly Preston. A lot has happened in those 10 years, not least the fact that Councillor Cunningham became Councillor Barbara Lewis following her marriage to Chris. In the process, I suspect Barbara has possibly become a little more political, but she remains that fantastic people person. I've served on the licensing committee with Barbara when she was chair, and she always ran a tight ship, ensuring that the committee was conducted in a proper manner and fairly. It was a pleasure to serve on that committee with you, Barbara. And over the past year, Barbara has done a splendid job as Deputy Mayor, and I know she's been a marvellous support to our Mayor, Hannah Stevens, during that time. And between them, I think they've done a great job in representing Torbay and the council at events at the Bay and wider afield. And I'm certain that that experience will stand Barbara in good stead, and I know she will be a tremendous ambassador for Torbay and Torbay Council. And I ask you all across this chamber to please support my proposal that Councillor Barbara Lewis be elected as the Worshipful the Mayor of Torbay for the coming municipal year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tolchard. Is there a seconder? Councillor Jackie Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I am absolutely delighted to second. I have known Barbara for a few years now, going back to when she first met Councillor Chris Lewis. We soon became friends as well as colleagues, and we both started our journey as councillors. We both supported each other, both professionally and personally, which is why I am in no shadow of a doubt that Barbara will be an asset in her new role of Worshipful Mayor. Councillor Barbara Lewis is a well-known and deeply respected figure in this chamber. She brings with her not only a wealth of experience, but a passion for public service that has been evident throughout her years of dedicated commitment to our Bay. Over the past 2 years alone, Barbara has proven herself to be a steady hand and a wise voice. As chair of the Licensing Committee, she has led with fairness, integrity, and a firm grasp of the responsibility when doing what is best for Torbay. Beyond that, she has been a tireless advocate for residents, listening with care, responding with action, and always making time to engage, support, and help where needed. Barbara brings not just experience, but the kind of calm and measured leadership that this role demands. She has served Torbay with distinction and has earned the trust of colleagues across the chamber. I can think of no better representative to wear the chain of office and serve as the first citizen of Torbay in this coming year. So it is an honour to second the nomination of Councillor Barbara Lewis as Mayor of Torbay 2025 to 2026. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackie Thomas. I can confirm that in accordance with standing orders, Councillor Barbara Lewis has given her consent for her nomination. Is there any debate? Councillor Long?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is just to confirm that the Liberal Democrat group will be supportive of this nomination, and indeed, if we'd had the option of being the proposer or seconder, we would have happily agreed to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further debate? Okay, Councillor Tolchard, your right to reply.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to say, I wish Barbara, and I'm sure we all wish Barbara all the very best. You deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now take the vote. All those in favour? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Please be seated.
Can Councillor Barbara Lewis now make the declaration of acceptance of office and oath of allegiance before me as proper officer of the council?
Thank you. I, Barbara Lewis, having been elected to the office of Civic Mayor of the Borough of Torbay, declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it, according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of members of Torbay Council. I, Barbara Lewis, of Preston, Paynton, Devon, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, his heirs and successors, according to the law. Good morning, everyone. I'm a bit nervous, I'm sorry. It's an absolute honour to stand before you today as I take on the role of Civic Mayor of Torbay. I want to begin by thanking my fellow councillors for their support and for placing their trust in me to serve in this role for the coming year. It is a responsibility I take very seriously and one that I accept with both humility and pride. I would also like to thank Councillors Tolchard and Jackie Thomas for their kind words. It means a lot to me. Thank you both for your support. I would especially like to thank Councillor Stevens, the past Civic Mayor, for all her dedication to the role, which she has done superbly, and her support to me as her deputy. I think we have worked well as a team. I didn't grow up in Torbay, but I can truly say now it is my home in every sense of the word. I moved here from London to help my mother care for my father during his battle with dementia. Like many, I learned quickly learned the true meaning of compassion and patience. That is why I picked Rowcroft Hospice for my charity for the year. They do so much for those most in need. Before that chapter in my life, I worked as a dental nurse, an experience that taught me the value of empathy, attention to detail, and of course how to keep calm under pressure, which I think might come in handy in the coming months. Politics wasn't always part of the plan, but I married a man who was always involved, and I suppose you could say it was only a matter of time before I got roped in too. But while it was politics that brought me here, it's people who have kept me here. And that's what I care about, always have, and I always will. Throughout my time in the council, whether serving as chairman of licensing or sitting on the planning committee, my aim has been the same, to listen, to learn, and do my best for the residents of Torbay. As Civic Mayor, I will continue to represent our communities with warmth and integrity and an open heart. I am definitely not one of the most political of politicians. I leave that to my husband. But I do care deeply about the well-being of people who live here, work here, and raise their families and grow old here. That, to me, is what the role is all about. I'm pleased to announce that Councillor Chris Lewis, my husband, will be my consort, and delighted that the Reverend Nathan Kiaga, the Vicar of St Paul's Preston, our local church, has agreed to be my chaplain for the coming year. Thank you once again for this opportunity. I will serve with dedication, and I hope to be a civic mayor that makes Torbay proud. Thank you. Would Councillor Spicania propose a vote of thanks to Councillor Stevens and her consort Ian Stevens, please?
Well, Councillor Stevens, what a year you've had. You've highlighted and raised money for two well-worthy and excellent charities in Fisherman's Mission and Play Torbay. You have been busy, from Fisherman's Mission Remembrance, opening a unit for adults with learning difficulties, and looking down a scope at a target and firing a gun. You have built bridges between Brixham and the rest of Torbay, and that I commend you for. So I say thanks from myself, members, and Torbay Council for the gracious way you carried out your duties, Andy and your consort, the way you carried out your duties as the worshipful, the Mayor of Torbay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Timon?
Thank you. I rise to second.
I will now take the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. I will now present the past Civic Mayor's badge to Councillor Stevens.
Good morning. My term as Civic Mayor has been shorter than most. However, I can honestly say that I've enjoyed every last minute of the journey that I have been on. I felt semi-prepared for the role as I was Deputy Civic Mayor the previous year, but that didn't stop the nerves. I started my term quite shy and unsure, and I feel now that I have grown in confidence. My public speaking skills have improved, and I feel that I could probably do anything I put my mind to. The council meetings have been very interesting and a massive learning curve for me, but I have felt that this has also made me grow as a person. My favourite part about being Civic Mayor has been meeting a range of different people and getting involved with my own community in Brixham and becoming more involved with other communities throughout the Bay. And I don't actually have a favourite moment or event, as they've all been absolutely amazing. One of my favourite moments was opening the unit for independent living for adults with autism, ADHD, learning difficulties, and sensory issues. One of the best moments was meeting the residents there and hearing about how much they love living there. Having a son with autism and learning difficulties and sensory issues, I know how hard it is to find the best places for these amazing people to go, and the support workers there have done an absolutely outstanding job helping the residents live as independently as possible. I would like to extend my gratitude to my chosen charities, Play Torbay and the Fisherman's Mission, for letting me promote their charities and making them more known throughout the Bay. Helen and Tanny have also been great personal support, and I'll continue to support them going forward. I would also like to thank my consort, husband Ian, for being there for me, accompanying me at almost all of these lovely engagements. I would also like to thank Hamish, my mayoral air cadet, who has accompanied me to many events and services, and I wish him well with his career in the Navy. I do have a small token to thank you both, which I would now like to present. I would also like to thank my chaplain, Angela Sumner, for always being there for me and calming me down when sometimes the nerves took over. I'd also like to thank Councillor Barbara Lewis, my Deputy Civic Mayor, for being there and attending events and services that I could not. Your support has been great, thank you, and I wish you the best of luck through your term as Civic Mayor. Thank you all.
Thank you. I now move to item 4, the election of the Deputy Civic Mayor. Can Councillor Bye put his motion to the Council, please?
Madam Mayor, may I be the very first to congratulate you on your appointment as our Civic Mayor and wish you every success for the forthcoming year, 2025-2026. And if you have your diary with you, you can put in a date to come along to the Toads production of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory at the Princess Theatre in early July, and the Paint and Panto in December at the Palace Avenue Theatre. I think it's Robinson Crusoe this year. Tickets are available, but you will come for free. Everybody else has to pay. And I also want to say thank you so much and well done to your predecessor, who has done a wonderful, wonderful job, and particularly chairing these sometimes difficult meetings. But I'm sure you, Madam Mayor, you'll be strict, but not with me, not too strict. Yes, be good, be good. I'm absolutely delighted now to the matter in hand to propose Councillor Hazel Foster, my Wellswood Ward colleague, to be the Deputy Civic Mayor for the year 2025-2026. I have worked with 3 colleagues in the Wellswood Ward since 2015. The first, you'll remember, James O'Dwyer, who used to read the council reports and remember them in forensic details, hundreds and hundreds of pages, which saved me a lot of bother. And then we had, very briefly and very, very sadly, Councillor Patrick Joyce, who I remember working with and campaigning with in the elections in 2023, and very much enjoyed all the fun and laughter with him at that time, which came so sadly to a very, very death. And we still miss him. Then we have had the Wellswood by-election, something that I think most of the residents of Wellswood have not yet fully recovered from, and I thought it deserved a programme with John Curtis on the BBC television. Such was the excitement. And Hazel Foster was elected. Hard-working Hazel Foster, I would honestly say one of the hardest working people I have known to represent their residents. A mutual friend reported back to me from a former friend, a distinguished resident of Georgian Court on the Babbacombe Road. The message came back to me, that Hazel Foster, she gets things done. I think the contrast with the other Wellswood councillor was implied, and I've felt ever since that I've had to raise my game. Hazel has absolutely kept the officers and the South West Water on their toes in the same way, and I have to say the residents of Wellswood, who are well informed and vocal, and particularly those from the more affluent corners of the ward, keep us on our toes. And that's what it's all about. It's absolutely, as you have already said, Madam Mayor, working for the community, working for everybody. Hazel has had a life of more than its fair shares of ups and downs. And I got to know Hazel when she moved to Torquay. Previously, she has had a very distinguished career in local government in Coventry. And I had the pleasure of being the master of ceremonies at Hazel and Kevin Foster's wedding at the Old Palace Hotel on the Babbacombe Road, the only then independently run four-star hotel in Europe, built over a still flourishing Melba toast mine. The fun we used to have there. And I remember saying a few words, doing my best to make people laugh, entertain. I've tried my best this morning, but it's not working as well as it sometimes does, but entertaining people there. And off went a mobile phone. Do you remember Hazel and Kevin?
You have 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Off went, well, that sort of came in on time like a mobile phone, didn't it? Thank you, Madam Mayor. Off went a mobile phone, and I thought then the regeneration of Torbay is well underway because no one had ever managed to get a mobile phone signal at the Palace Hotel, to the best of my knowledge, before then. So Hazel will be the most splendid deputy to you to share your engagements, absolutely to raise funds for the Rowcroft Hospice, and I wish her every success, hoping members will support her. Thank you so much.
And you are actually formally proposing, because you hadn't actually said that.
I thought I said that at the beginning. What a marvellous chief executive we have to keep us all on our toes. So I am formally, after all those jokes that didn't go down very well, I am formally proposing that Councillor Hazel Foster serves as the Deputy Civic Mayor for the year 2025 to 2026. Have I got that right?
Thank you, Councillor Bye. Is there a seconder? Councillor Fellows.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. May I also extend congratulations on your appointment today for the next civic year. I'm delighted to second Councillor Foster's nomination for Deputy Civic Mayor. I've known Hazel for the past 6 years, and in that time she's demonstrated an extraordinary dedication for the community. As Deputy Mayor, she'll be hugely supportive of Councillor Lewis in her new mayoral role. I'm confident she's the right person and look forward to seeing her working with our new mayor over the next year, and hope you will all support me. I hope you all support her when we come to the vote in a minute. I am forever an optimist though, so okay, thank you.
Thank you. Before I open debate, I can confirm that in accordance with standing orders, Councillor Foster has given her consent for their nomination. I now invite debate. Sorry. Councillor Johns.
Thank you very much. It's a new microphone, isn't it? And congratulations, by the way. I think you'll make a fine mayor. But we do have an amendment to the Deputy Civic Mayor. So I'm hoping everyone's received that on email this morning. would you like me to go straight into it? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay, so if you haven't received it, I'm just going to read it out to you, okay? So basically that the election of the Deputy Civic Mayor to be deferred a second adjourned annual council meeting, the date to be arranged by the head of the government's support in consultation with the Civic Mayor, just to allow for further discussions between administration and the opposition to take place. So I don't know if you've also received an email from Councillor Long. No? Yes. You have, yeah. Okay. So basically, why are we doing this? So I have written some words down. Bear with me. Okay. So to propose this amendment is a spirit of facilitation and agreement in a positive way of working together. So we don't want to repeat what happened last year, but we do want you to just rethink, is this the right person to put forward as the Deputy Civic Mayor, which is non-political, and I think that's our concern. And also there is a history with Councillor Foster only a few years ago regarding bullying. So basically, we would like you just to rethink it through. She is a hard-working councillor, but we worry about the political agenda. And basically, we just like you to rethink it, and hope you can support us with a deferral to discuss it again. Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, second. Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Fox.
Madam, again, I'd like to just give my congratulations to your appointment. I'm very pleased for it. I'm pleased for you. I just want to say very briefly, being elected to the post of Civic Mayor of Torbay is the highest civic honour that the council can bestow on an individual. And with that, it demands the highest standards of civic life. In view of the comments already raised by this side of the chamber, all we're asking for now is a time for further discussion and reflection. I think it will be very much in keeping with the new accord that has recently been signed between the parties in Torbay. It would demonstrate clearly that the accord is working, that it's alive and it's well. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
And I move to debate. Councillor Long.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and congratulations on your elevation to your post, and thank you for making Councillor Chris Lewis your consort, because that will ensure that he is less political. So thank you for that. In terms of this amendment, the Liberal Democrat group have been raising with the political leadership of Torbay Council for weeks now concerns about the nominee, given her past actions, and also about the proposed nominee for consort. Despite raising concerns and promises that these concerns would be discussed, we have not had sufficient or indeed any assurances regarding those concerns. There is a real concern on this side that by simply installing the proposed nominee will bring the council into disrepute, and there is lots of comment on social media about this proposed nominee. I have been advised by officers that I have done the right thing in raising concerns in advance in closed-door meetings and followed the leadership agreement by doing so. However, as I said, there's no action been taken or indeed real difference in behaviour. The leadership agreement that Councillor Johns mentioned puts a duty on myself to ensure that no councillor is put up against the nomination, and we are not doing that. I'm also tasked with minimising any votes against. That task has been made impossible by the behaviour of the nominee and the consort and the lack of action by the Conservative leadership. This has had the effect of positively encouraging votes against, hence our amendment today, which is designed to ensure that conversations take place to continue to ensure that votes against the nominee can be absolutely minimised. And I feel that my actions to date in raising things in advance, in private, and by putting this amendment for a deferral for further conversations is in the spirit of the facilitation and the agreement, and is also a sign of leadership. Thank you.
Councillor Mandy Darling.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and may I congratulate you on your new role, and I'm sure you have a lot of fun as well, as I certainly did when I was Civic Mayor. It's been difficult for me personally to wrestle with whether I say something or not, but having taken advice from charities that I've spoken to, I feel I must say what I will. The Deputy Mayor and Mayor of Torbay, and particularly the Deputy Mayor, is a role where you promote the values of Torbay. In that role, there needs to be empathy and understanding. And I have real concerns that the candidate for Deputy Mayor does not have the full empathy and understanding that is required for this role. I say this from personal experience, which has happened to me, which is very upsetting. And I have, prior to speaking, I have reached out to the deputy, to the Conservative leader and the deputy leader, expressing my concerns prior to this meeting, in order that I wouldn't have to speak. In the response I received, there was no addressing of my concerns at all. There were other things, but no, my concerns weren't addressed. So I really felt that I needed to say, from a personal experience, my real concerns about the candidate that you have chosen for Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor David Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I find it incredibly difficult to stand here. First of all, would like to congratulate you on your position, but also commiserate that this is the very first item that you're having to deal with. The leaders' agreement clearly was designed to put the history of last year behind us and put us in a different place moving forward. You will notice that there has been no debate from members behind me. And that is because we can either look at this with our head or our heart. And I have to go back to my early teachings as a young boy. And I've spoken in this chamber many times about politics. Of course I have. Lots and lots of different subjects. But one thing I've never spoken about in this chamber is about religion and beliefs. And my religion and what I was taught, and I am going to quote a piece that Lord Jesus Christ spoke to us about turning the other cheek. On the Sermon on the Mount, he said, and I quote, "You have heard it that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him and also offer the other." And I think really what that is teaching me is all about retaliation. In those days, it was an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But instead, what we're being taught here is about non-retaliation. Jesus invites his followers to break the cycle of revenge and to respond with offensiveness, with both grace and humility. And therefore, I think if we'd have had this conversation a year ago, and I know we had a similar conversation a year ago.
To the amendment, please.
Of course. So the reality is, I think we are trying to move forward, trying to do the best thing for Torbay, for our residents. That is ultimately what we're here to do. We will not be supporting the amendment this morning. Thank you very much.
Okay, if there's no further debate, Councillor Johns, your right of reply as proposer of the amendment.
I am. We might as well just go ahead.
Councillor Bye, is a proposer of the original.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And very, very briefly, I would say that someone who has been the Lord Mayor of Coventry City Council absolutely is equipped to be the Deputy Civic Mayor of Torbay Council. What I have heard and what I have read about Hazel this morning is not the Hazel I know I work with very happily in the Wellswood ward and the town hall. Someone who I find is absolutely straightforward in her dealings, totally loyal, and is there for everyone. Someone who is so very, very inclusive. I can remember dancing with her and Kevin in this very space at the rainbow balls that we have held on so many occasions. You can't be more inclusive than that, than enjoying yourselves at the rainbow balls. I think that Hazel will be there, a marvellous support for you. I wish her well, I wish you well. Let's now move on and put the past in the past.
Thank you, Councillor Bye. So we now go to the vote on the amendment. All those in favour? All those against? No abstentions. The amendment is now lost. Is there any further debate on the original motion? No. Councillor Long.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. If only it was in the past, Madam Mayor, but it's not. And I hadn't wanted to raise these things, but there have been, in recent weeks, I've been raising this with the Conservative leadership only in the last few days. There have been attacks on members of my group online, to the extent that Councillor Law and myself have had to go to the police and raise those concerns about the proposed nominee for the Deputy Mayor's consort, and that matter is in the hands of the police as we speak, and that is current, not past. And there is also...
Councillor Long, we're not really here to talk about that. Can we just keep to the subject at hand? Is the election of the Deputy Civic Mayor of Torbay, please.
And I'm articulating why we can't vote for it, and if reference was made earlier to things being in the past. Well, I can't sort of put it any other way in terms of what our concerns are. The lack of appropriateness hasn't been mentioned to me when I have raised it in meetings behind closed doors. And then there's also reference to the proposed Deputy Mayor's comments, which have been deemed a hate incident as well, which affects our community.
You're making comments, references about the consort.
Yes.
Sorry, that isn't what we're talking about. We are talking about the Deputy Civic Mayor, not her consort.
And both are tied up in the same paperwork and the script that we have in front of
But
us.
we are talking about the Deputy Civic Mayor.
Okay, well, I've made the references I need to, but I also need to reference the Deputy Civic Mayor's record, and the Standards Committee has found her to have been bullied a member of staff, and also there have been very recent comments online which the police have deemed a hate incident, which if we are talking about the highest civic role in the council, I think it is worthy of us to have a rethink over whether that should be happening. Thank you.
Councillor Atiala.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Before I start my speech, I would like to congratulate you on your appointment as Mayor. I believe that you will make a great ambassador for Torbay, and whilst I have concerns over your consort's footballing choices, I believe that you will both do a great job for the Bay, and I wish you the best for your term as Mayor. Now, turning to the matter of the post of Deputy Mayor and the administration's pick for it, as the Council's Racial Equality and Inclusion Champion, I, along with my colleagues and members of the BME community of Torbay, have grave concerns over the individual who wishes to seek nomination to the post. Councillor Foster, who previously before being elected to Torbay Council, was a councillor in the second most diverse area of Coventry, and not only that, she was also a previous Lord Mayor. Given how on edge that the BME community feel post Southport, and along with the victims of racism and bullying, I do not believe in any circumstances that Councillor Foster should not be allowed to proceed with the nomination of Deputy Mayor. Her comments, for someone who claims to be so experienced, would not have gone anywhere near the issue of mentioning the colour of police officers' skins. And it was in no way a mistake, and her comments to justify her so-called reasoning were just as racist, and it will be something that you will have to live with for the rest of your life. As someone who has constantly fought against racism, and like many others in the Bay, that the optics around promoting someone who has been found guilty of bullying and now making racial slurs does not show our organisation that we represent being inclusive. In fact, it does the opposite. And what is the point of bringing the inclusion strategy forward tonight if we can't even do the basics now? What I'm going to also say is, Madam Mayor, is my understanding is that there are members in the administration group who are very uncomfortable with the nomination. And I would urge those members who do not want it on their conscience to vote against Councillor Foster, and then obviously find someone who is more appropriate. Thank you very much indeed.
Councillor George Darling.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to speak really as I know Councillor Foster was the previous St Mary Church councillor before me, and I think it must be agreed with what Councillor Bai said, that she was well regarded as hard-working. I think my concerns are that as Mayor and Deputy Mayor, you have to represent the whole community, and my worry is that this decision will alienate certain groups within our community, which is why I don't feel like I can support Councillor Foster today.
Thank you. So if there's no further debate, Councillor Bai, would you like to write? Apologies, sorry. Councillor Verdi.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and congratulations on your post.
I just want to begin by talking about institutional racism. And this is how I see it. This council is an institution and there is a racist within it. And when I came to this country from Uganda, I didn't know what racism was. I remember going to school with my friend at 7 years old and walking along to school. My friend said, "There's two Pakis over there." And I looked over into the green and it was my granddad and his brother walking towards me. They came to visit us at the refugee camp. One from Kenya, one from Swansea. And I didn't know what that word meant. So I asked my dad in the evening what it was. And he told me about racism. And this was something new to me. And from that day on, I had it throughout my life. And I still have it today. I walk out the front door and I think, what kind of abuse will I get today? That is the first thought I have every day, every morning when I go to work. And it stayed with me. It stayed in the 70s, the 80s. I've had it from teachers, I've had it students.
Councillor Verdi, can we stick to the...
I am sticking to the point. It is institutional racism. I've had it at school, I've had it from the police, I've had it from the NHS.
This is about the Deputy Civic Mayor.
It is about the Deputy Civic Mayor. Now, within this institution, there is an institutional racist. And if she had any integrity, she would not run for Deputy Mayor. She should stay as a hard-working councillor. There is no integrity. If there was a conscience, she would decline the role. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Pentley. Before you start, Councillor Pentley, do you have any new points to actually say?
I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you. And I would add my voice to those already offered to congratulate you on your new appointment. My point is thus, it's all very well and good, Councillor Thomas, you suggesting this is a retaliatory move. If it were retaliatory, we'd be proposing a Lib Dem for this role. To be absolutely clear, our earlier position was, yes, it should be Conservative, and there's plenty of you to choose from, just not this one. And it's all very well good to talk about turning the other cheek if you haven't been the one on the receiving end of that harm. And you've heard a couple of accounts, what it's like to be on the receiving end of certain harm, Councillor Thomas. So I'd ask yourself and others to imagine what it would be like to be part of those communities that have been offended by the unfortunate incidents that have taken place. Think about that. You haven't, because you haven't imagined it, you haven't listened, you haven't engaged. And so when we move to the vote in a second, just think about those communities, and if that were you, if you were the receiving end of those kind of harms, how would you feel about this person being put into this very important civic role? Just think about that before you vote. Thank you.
Councillor Bye, you're right to reply on the original motion.
The Councillor Foster I'm supporting today, my hard-working colleague, is someone who is there for everyone. I hope that we now vote for her to be the Deputy Civic Mayor.
Thank you. I now move to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? The motion is carried.
Would Councillor Foster please come forward onto the stage to make the declaration of acceptance of office?
I, Hazel Foster, having been elected to the office of Deputy Civic Mayor of the Borough of Torbay, declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it, according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of members of Torbay Council. Thank you. So just to say, I wish to express my thanks to the Council for the honour bestowed on me. I also wish to announce that Kevin Foster will be my consort during my year of office. Thank you.
This meeting will now adjourn to 5:30 p.m. today to deal with the remainder of the business as set out in a separate agenda. Members, I now invite you to join me for the annual photo. And thank you all for attending today.